Rain poured heavily that evening, drumming against the hospital windows like the sky itself was grieving. Inside the emergency entrance, nurses rushed between patients, stretchers rolled past, and the sound of urgent footsteps echoed through the halls. No one knew that within the next few minutes, something would happen that the hospital cameras would record forever, something no one would believe until they saw it with their own eyes. It began with a strange scratching sound at the emergency doors. A security guard turned to look, expecting maybe a patient, a visitor, or even a stray animal, but what he saw made him freeze. A large police canine dog stood at the entrance, soaked from the rain, breathing hard, its eyes wide with a desperate kind of urgency. There was no officer with him. His collar was torn, hanging loosely around his neck, and gripped gently in his teeth was a small, blood-stained pink ribbon, clearly belonging to a little girl. The guard opened the door, and before he could ask anything, the dog sprinted inside. Nurses gasped and jumped back, not because they were afraid, but because the dog wasn't behaving like a lost animal. He was acting like someone on a mission, someone trying to save a life. The canine ran straight to the emergency trauma bay and began barking loudly, pushing his paws against the closed doors, looking back at the staff again and again as if begging them to follow him. Nurse Emily stepped forward cautiously and knelt down beside him. "Hey, what do you have there?" she whispered. The dog gently dropped the pink ribbon at her feet. Emily's breath caught in her throat. The ribbon was small, embroidered with tiny white flowers, the kind worn by very young girls to tie their hair. But the blood, fresh, dark, and smeared along one side, told her immediately that something terrible had happened. Doctors, nurses, and security crowded around. The dog barked again, louder this time, almost shaking. He paced in frantic circles, then rushed back to the entrance, pausing every few seconds to make sure the humans were following. It didn't take long for them to realize he was trying to lead them somewhere. Before they moved, one of the security guards checked the camera footage. The recording showed the canine pounding against the back door with his paws, trying again and again until someone finally noticed. It looked like he had been running in the rain for a long time. There were cuts on his legs, scratches on his back, and dried mud all over his fur. This wasn't a dog who got lost. This was a dog fighting against exhaustion to bring a message. Dr. Harris, head of emergency, grabbed his coat. "Everyone with me," he said. "This dog is trying to show us something. Move now." Emily picked up the ribbon with gloves. She could already feel that it belonged to a child who needed help urgently. The canine bolted out the doors the moment they opened. 5 staff members followed him through the rain, guided only by streetlights and the dog's glowing eyes. He took sharp turns through alleys, splashed through puddles, and barked every few seconds to make sure the humans were keeping up. Finally, he stopped in a narrow abandoned alley behind a row of closed shops. That's where they saw her. A tiny girl, no older than 7, lay on the ground, shivering violently, her clothes torn, her arms scratched. Her breathing was shallow, and her eyes fluttered open only slightly. She was clutching her stomach, where blood had soaked through her shirt. Beside her lay a police officer, unconscious, bleeding, and barely breathing. And the canine went straight to the girl, curled beside her, and whimpered softly, nudging her face with his nose. Emily immediately knelt to check her pulse. "She's alive, weak, but alive. We need to move." 2 other nurses checked the officer. He had been shot in the shoulder and had a deep cut along his ribs. The rain had slowed the bleeding, ironically saving his life. The canine barked at the ambulance crew the whole time, pacing nervously as if urging them to hurry. Even when they lifted the girl onto the stretcher, the dog refused to leave her side, jumping into the ambulance without waiting for permission. Inside the ambulance, he pressed his head gently against the girl's tiny hand, letting out a deep, trembling whine. And somehow, through the haze of pain, the little girl managed to curl her fingers around the dog's fur, holding him like he was the only safe thing left in the world. When they reached the hospital, doctors rushed her to surgery. The canine tried to follow, barking frantically when the doors shut in his face. No one had the heart to stop him, so he lay down right outside the operating room, refusing food, refusing water, refusing to move. Rainwater still dripped from his fur as he waited, eyes fixed on the door. While the surgery took place, police arrived and pieced together what happened. The little girl had been kidnapped earlier that evening. The officer, Officer Daniels, the K-9's handler, found the kidnappers and fought them off long enough to get the girl free. He told the dog one thing before collapsing. "Take her to the hospital, go." And the K-9 listened. For more than an hour, he dragged her, nudged her, pushed her with his nose, guided her weak steps, and when she collapsed again, he ran ahead to find help. The ribbon must have fallen when the girl tried to hold on to him, and the dog carried it all the way to the hospital, knowing humans would understand. After nearly 2 hours, the surgical doors finally opened. Dr. Harris stepped out, exhausted but smiling. "She's stable," he said. "She's going to live." The K-9, understanding everything from the doctor's tone, wagged his tail slowly and then collapsed onto the floor, finally allowing himself to rest now that the mission was complete. Hours later, Officer Daniels woke up in another room, dazed and confused. "Where's she? Where's my dog?" he whispered. They brought the K-9 into the room. The moment the dog saw his handler awake, he jumped onto the bed, gently resting his head on the officer's chest. Daniels tried to lift his arm to pet him, wincing from the pain, but he managed a small smile. "You did it, buddy," he whispered. "You saved her." Tears filled the eyes of the staff watching. The little girl, after waking the next morning, asked for only one thing, the dog. When they brought him to her room, she reached out with trembling hands and hugged him tightly. He lay beside her bed and closed his eyes, finally at peace. Hospital cameras captured every moment. The desperate entrance, the barking, the pacing, the waiting, and the story spread everywhere. Doctors, nurses, officers, and even strangers who later watched the footage felt the same disbelief. A dog had done what many humans might not have been able to do. He fought the rain, danger, exhaustion, and fear, just to save a child's life. No training manual could teach what he showed that night: loyalty, courage, and a heart far bigger than any human expected. And that's why no one who witnessed it, whether in person or on camera, would ever forget what happened after that police dog walked into the hospital with a message clutched gently between his teeth, and changed everything that followed.